Well, Jack Benjamin is a New Orleans-based play-by-play man, a jack of all trades, if you will, has covered all kinds of different things for ESPN, NBC, Olympics, college basketball, you name it. But, the topic du jour, Jack, is college basketball in the Sweet 16. And what a setting for you to be based in New Orleans. How rich is the tradition, the college basketball tradition where you're located?
Yeah, it's very rich. It's a lot of fun. I can tell you the buzz here is huge in the Big Easy. People have been talking about this for the last couple of years, just kind of working towards hosting a Final Four here for the sixth time. And madness is going to ensue in some form in this Final Four. You just look at the history. The first time they had it here was Michael Jordan hitting the shot for North Carolina against Georgetown, obviously. Keith Smart for Indiana in 87. You can just go. The Chris Webber timeout was here in New Orleans. People probably remember the Michigan Fab Five in 93 when they lost to North Carolina. The last time it was here, Kentucky won in 2012. I thought Kentucky had a pretty good shot to return and play in the Final Four here. And, of course, St. Peter's had other ideas. So it's been a lot of fun being in this area, talking to people about the excitement level. And, Caesars Superdome is going to be on fire in a couple weeks' time.
But all of them, of course. But, do you have a couple games that are really going to sort of get you excited as a college basketball fan?
Yeah, all of them is right. But basically, Carolyn, when March Madness starts, I locate all my devices. I've got my two laptops, my TV. I go out and buy two more TVs because I get my iPhone. I'm watching everything I can because it's that addicting. I will say in terms of what I think are the most interesting matchups, Arizona-Houston. That's one, if you're watching at home, you want to make sure you get your seatbelt on, you're kind of bracing yourselves. You might feel some pain at home with how much toughness and physicality is going to be in that game. So that's one that's going to be a blast for sure. If I could rank the 3-1 seeds remaining, I would say the most vulnerable right now is Arizona. And the NCAA tournament for me is all about matchups. I happen to know Houston very well. I cover Tulane on a regular basis. I know the American Athletic Conference very well. Houston is unbelievable. Kelvin Sampson, I don't know how many people are familiar with his story and the way that he's built up Houston, but they won 14 games in his first year. They've won 20-plus every year since. They've won the second most games, only to Gonzaga, over that span. They lost their best two players about maybe 3 or 4 weeks into the season, Marcus Sasser and Tremont Mark, and all they've done is win since. It's incredible what they've done. Most teams lose their top two players, they're done, and these guys have just changed around the way they play. They've gone inside more instead of being perimeter-oriented. I think Arizona's got a lot of issues right now. It starts with Kirk Kriisa, their point guard. He has not been healthy. He's battling a couple of injuries, shot the ball horribly against TCU. He literally couldn't hit water if he fell off a boat in that game. He just kept launching threes and kept missing. And I also wonder, at some point, Tommy Lloyd has done an incredible job in his first year at Arizona. The last time a first-year coach won an NCAA championship was all the way back in 1997 when Arizona did it the last time. I wonder how the pressure maybe gets to him down the stretch. They were really lucky to get by TCU. There were a couple of questionable calls down the stretch. They pulled it out. Ben Matherin's as good a player as there is in college basketball. He may very well end up being the most outstanding player in this tournament with the way he's played. But I love Houston and the way they defend. I think this game is going to be close. I think it's going to be very physical. I think UCLA and UNC is a fascinating matchup. North Carolina going back to really beating Duke and Cameron Indoor in Coach K's final home game. I was watching that game and Duke's up and I'm thinking, oh, he's going to get the fairy tale ending. And here comes UNC and they just completely spoil the party. And all they've done since is get to the Sweet 16. I think they gave their fans a heart attack in the round of 32 because they're up 25 on Baylor. And then Baylor storms back and forces overtime. And they've looked really good. I love their backcourt. I think Armando Bacot's an incredible player in the front court for them. And UCLA is hobbled right now. Jaime Jaquez is the guy who makes them go. People remember UCLA's run in the bubble in Indy last year. Jaime Jaquez is kind of that guy, that sort of heart and soul guy for their team. He's got a bad ankle injury. Mick Cronin has said he's day-to-day. So that's one, if you're trying to bet or figure out who's going to win, you better be checking your phone and checking updates up until game time on Friday night.
As a play-by-play guy, do you kind of have a feel for why we love these Cinderellas so much?
I just think it's the storyline. I think everybody loves a great story. I think people can relate more to the guy who is, Doug Edert and is 6 foot or 6'1" and under recruited and is, obviously has that, showcasing that mustache and now signing the NIL Buffalo Wild Wings deal and, under recruited guys and people who have been underdogs their whole life and a coach who talks the way Shaheen Holloway does about, hey, we're from New Jersey and New York. We're not getting scared of anybody. It's just something that you can get behind versus, we're not all 6'8" and can jump out of the gym and can dunk on everybody. And We're not all McDonald's All-Americans. We don't all kind of come from sort of that background and are one and dones going straight to the NBA. So I just think that's the great part about college athletics. And I think the other part is because it's the unique aspect. The best part about the NCAA tournament, it's one day, it's one game, it's that 2-hour window. These guys don't have to beat Purdue 4 out of 7 in the NBA Finals. This is one game. You got to beat them for 40 minutes.
Mention your background being, a New York guy. Is this a program that has been on the radar for a little while?
The one thing I will say, if you look at kind of their trajectory since he took over in 2019, first off, he inherited a team. If you just look into the story of St. Peter's, it's hard to believe because the facilities were just a disaster. There was flooding in the office every single day. They basically there's stories about how they couldn't necessarily play music during practice because the practice gym was attached to the band and different people were practicing during the day. So all those things are true when he took over. They've made significant facility upgrades. They've renovated the gymnasium, which has been huge. 2019, he took over a team that was in a really bad spot. He struggled his first year. 2020, though, he flipped the thing around immediately. They were in a really good spot, I think, in entering that MAC tournament in 2020. And obviously, they didn't have a chance to do that, but they finished in the top 3 in the MAC over the course of the last 3 years. So this is not a overnight boom. Oh, they're in the Sweet 16. They're making a miracle run. This has been a 2-3 year process in the making. And you look at Shaheen Holloway and what he did in recruiting. I always think okay, well, how did you build your roster? He has taken you mentioned I'm from New York. He's taken guys local to that area, 6 or 7 players. Everybody knows Doug Eddard, the mustached wonder. It reminds me of Goose from Top Gun with what he's got going on there. And I know he just signed an NIL deal with Buffalo Wild Wings, but he's a local kid. Matthew Lee, their point guard, is a local kid. Daryl Banks is a New Jersey kid as well, their leading scorer, who had 27 against Kentucky. So he finally got his guys in the program. They've all bought in. So he's built this system. He's gotten his personnel in place. And this has been a 2 or 3 year process now in the making, obviously capping it off with a Sweet 16 run and hoping to go further.
Just watching how the media has intensified over the last couple of weeks. I mean, now just cameras everywhere descending on them in Philly. There's a grittiness, a sort of toughness, a Jersey basketball quality to this that I think gives people even more reason to, like you mentioned, you're spot on, to root for this group. Yeah,
you would have thought watching their practice and watching them leave for Philadelphia the other day that they were a bunch of movie stars with how much media was there. That was unbelievable to see. I think you make a great point. Yeah, there's something to be said about the pride of that area, New York, New Jersey. Obviously, it's a Jersey City school, so New Jersey more specifically. But yeah, I think these are guys, you look at them taking a shot on a program that they didn't necessarily have to. Shaheen's talked a lot about having to really sell these guys on his vision and the type of player he was back in the day at Seton Hall and why they can get to the levels they can. I think that's absolutely a huge part of it. I think there's a ton of pride for these guys in representing and doing this for New Jersey. As many stories that are incredible about this, and the most amazing one is the fact that the last time a New Jersey school made the Sweet 16, Shaheen Holloway was the point guard of Seton Hall. It doesn't get any more full circle than that. So, yeah, I think it's a huge piece to have all these kids from that area doing this and putting this little school on the map. And I can guarantee you it won't be very long because enrollment is about to rise pretty fast.
Jack Benjamin, best of luck to you. Thanks for being with us. Enjoy New Orleans and all of the rabid fans that you're going to run into over the next couple of weeks here as we kind of round out March Madness. Thanks for being with me.
I will for sure. It'll be like Mardi Gras Part 2 when the Final Four descends here. So looking forward to it. Thanks for having me on, Carolyn.